Path of Exile 2! Beginner-friendly changes to improve your experience. As a new player in Path of Exile, you've likely heard complaints about the game's complexity, particularly the intimidating passive skill tree. Some even joke that understanding it requires a degree or multiple external tools just to play effectively. As someone who's not a long-time Path of Exile veteran, I've experienced the frustration firsthand. Ruined characters, endless pondering over the skill tree, and the steep learning curve. Fortunately, Path of Exile 2 is changing that. The developers have worked hard to lower the barrier to entry, making the game far more accessible for beginners, while retaining its depth. Once you grasp the basics, diving into the details becomes much smoother. In this video, I'll walk you through 8 key improvements in Path of Exile 2, designed to make the game more beginner-friendly. 1. Passive skill tree simplifications. The massive passive skill tree in Path of Exile 1 was daunting for newcomers. In Path of Exile 2, resetting nodes is now much easier. You can use gold instead of rare consumables. This change encourages experimentation without the fear of ruining your build. While the tree is still large, every class starts at a specific point tailored to its strengths. For example, the monk begins at the 2 o'clock position, with nodes nearby that directly complement the class. Most viable builds only require points within a 180-degree radius of your starting area, meaning a large portion of the tree can be ignored. These changes make the skill tree feel manageable while still allowing for deep customization. 2. Comprehensive tooltips and explanations. In Path of Exile 2, almost every term and mechanic is explained in-game through tooltips. Hovering over a passive skill node not only displays its effects, but also clarifies unfamiliar terms. Clicking on underlined terms opens detailed explanations, covering everything from basic stats like strength to advanced mechanics like critical damage bonus. This feature removes the need for external resources like wikis or guides, making it much easier for new players to learn the game organically. 3. Skill Gem Overview. Planning a build in Path of Exile. One often required external guides because you couldn't see what skills were available in the game itself. In Path of Exile 2, you have access to a complete overview of all skill gems and support gems directly in the game. Each skill comes with a tutorial video and audio explanation, showing how it works and how to use it effectively. This system gives players the freedom to experiment and plan their builds without relying on external resources. 4. Improved crafting accessibility. Crafting in Path of Exile 1 was an essential but often inaccessible feature due to the scarcity of materials. Many players hoarded resources, afraid to use them incorrectly. In Path of Exile 2, crafting materials drop more frequently, especially during the early stages of the campaign. This encourages players to engage with crafting right away, reducing the fear of mistakes and making the system more approachable. 5. Gold as a currency for equipment. Gold has been introduced as a new currency in Path of Exile 2. You can use it to purchase equipment from merchants, providing a reliable way to gear up early in the game. This helps mitigate bad RNG and ensures you're not stuck with weak gear during the campaign. 6. Revamped socket system. The old socket system in Path of Exile 1 required specific colored and linked sockets in gear to use skill and support gems. This often led to frustration when players couldn't find the right items or lacked the resources to modify their gear. In Path of Exile 2, sockets have been removed from equipment entirely. Instead, there's a centralized skill gem system where you can freely assign up to 5 support gems per skill. This change simplifies gear management and allows players to focus on experimenting with builds rather than struggling with socket mechanics. Enhanced movement and controls. Movement and controls have been significantly improved. Path of Exile 2 introduces WASD movement, allowing for more precise and dynamic gameplay. You can move in one direction while attacking in another, a major improvement for ranged classes. Additionally, many skills can now be used while moving, making combat feel smoother and more intuitive. 8. Simplified Flask System. In Path of Exile 1, managing 5 flasks with different effects was overwhelming, especially in hectic battles. Path of Exile 2 streamlines this system by reducing the number of flasks to 2. This makes it easier to keep track of and removes the pressure of pressing the wrong button during intense fights. These changes make Path of Exile 2 much more welcoming to new players. By simplifying key systems and providing better in-game guidance, the developers have created a foundation that allows players to enjoy the game's depth without being overwhelmed. If you enjoyed this guide, don't forget to subscribe for more Path of Exile 2 content. You can also join our community on Discord, link in the description. Thanks for watching, and happy adventuring!